So today it won't be too long. I want to just make sure that I give you an overview of what the program looks like, what the expectations are, the courses involved, and a little bit about, so that's the first part, the format of the program. The second part of the presentation is just to give you an idea of like what being a gifted and talented educators like right now, especially within the state of New Jersey, because laws have changed recently, and also to give you an idea of the career opportunities for somebody with a certificate in gifted and talented education. So the as a program with the courses, there are 3 courses associated with the program. Each course is 3 credits for a total of 9 credits. And this is quite concise. A lot of programs, certificate programs are 12, 15 credits. What we really tried to do is to squeeze everything in these 3 courses to make the program super compact. And the 3 courses are, as far as gifted and talented education and becoming a gifted and talented professional, they pretty much cover, the courses cover everything you'll need to know to be able to run a gifted and talented program, even create one, start one on your own, and certainly be a consultant, which is one of the job opportunities that I'm going to talk about later. Be a consultant for districts and schools and so forth. So the 3 courses are: the first is the foundations of gifted and talented education. This basically gives you, as it says, the basic concepts of what it is to be a G&T educator. It talks about the issues that we're dealing with right now, talks about the laws, not just within the state, but also nationally, right? That kind of governs what you're able to do and what you have to do as a teacher working with gifted and talented students. It also talks about things, the foundations course teaches you how to identify students, students that will benefit from a gifted and talented program. And it goes through all the things like actual teaching, the pedagogy that we often use within these classes, and teaches you the strategies to figure out whether what you're doing in the classroom is actually working. So the assessment and evaluation part of teaching. The second course is creativity, imagination, and critical thinking. This is a course that I teach, right? I'm super passionate about this course. By the way, if you have any questions regarding the program, I came up with the program years ago. I also developed each of these 3 courses. I only teach the creativity and imagination though. And with that course, because with gifted and talented students, the point is to really have them to get the best out of them, right? They come into the school year with they present themselves differently, different skills, different interests, and levels of motivation. But regardless of who they are and how they present themselves at the beginning of the school year, creativity, imagination, and critical thinking, those are the big things. Those are like higher level cognitive abilities that we try to promote in all of our students. And the third course is curriculum and methods in gifted and talented education. This is the nuts and bolts, right? So you get the foundations in the first course, you get the critical thinking and the sort of the higher level cognition in the second course. With the curriculum and methods, you really get into the nitty gritty. Like, how do you actually establish a program? Let's say you apply for a job in a school or a school district. They hire you to start a gifted and talented education program. Like, how do you actually do that? Because there are very technical sort of elements that you need to keep in mind. There are certain things that you need to do, right? Whether it is with the classes that you're going to run, whether it is related to policy within a school or a district, working with administrators, working with parents, and of course, working with the students. So that third course is critical. It binds everything together, right? So these are the 3 courses. They're taught by expert faculty. For example, my research has been on creativity, imagination, right? Aesthetics, gifted and talented education. The 2 other courses are also taught by like expert G&T folks who are working in schools, who are doing research, who are publishing, and so forth. So that's one of the strengths of the program is the faculty. The Now the format of the courses, they're fully online, asynchronous, right? So you're not actually you're not required to set aside a certain time or day of the week to meet with your professors. It's very flexible in that sense, where assignments are given online, and as long as you complete them within the due dates, typically something is due by the end of each week, and that's just the format. All right, so you're as long as you're doing your work, contributing to the online, usually there's discussion boards each week, online chat, then it's that pretty much you'll be fine. The courses are 8 weeks in length, and they're offered. The first course starts in March, and the last course ends in end of August. So you can technically, in principle, complete the whole program in 6 months, right? So you just start within March, and then by September, let's say you're working in a school right now, before the next school year actually begins, you would have earned your graduate certificate in gifted and talented. The application is rolling, so there's no deadline. We can, for example, the first course starts in March. You can still technically apply now, as long as we can get all your materials quickly, and we can process them quickly. There is still a chance that you can begin in March. All right, but that's actually, we're close to end of February now, so maybe not. But what you can do is, because it's rolling, like we don't do a cohort system where everybody begins right for that year in March. You can pick up on the second course, right, and begin the program then, and then do 2 courses this year, and do the third course next year, 2022. And there's no specific order really where you actually have to take the courses. As far as sequencing, it's quite flexible, but typically it's folks go with the foundations, and then the creativity and imagination course, and then the curriculum and methods. But if you have to take the foundations last, because these things are overlapping a lot of the ideas, right? That's the point of the program. You're going to be okay. I guess to summarize the format and the structure of the program, it's just flexible. And that when I initially designed this program, it's really because I had in mind students who are actually professionals. Like most of the students that are accepted into the program and that graduate, they're working teachers, or they're working district administrators, right? Or they are consultants already, and they just kind of need that certificate to give them that boost professionally, and as far as like professional development. So what you will learn specifically, and I talked a little bit about this earlier, the concepts, right? The techniques, there's a lot of techniques, and that's the reason why to have the certificate gives you an advantage. It really gives you that edge as far as applying for a job. Or if you're working now with gifted and talented students, it really pushes your ability to meet their needs, and really push the envelope as far as your work. The course will teach you to plan, develop, implement, and maintain G&T programs, and not just in schools, community settings as well. It'll allow you to, give you the tools to be able to assess whether what you're doing is actually working, and whether you need to change something, right? It's always about continuous improvement when we're talking about teaching and pedagogy. And you'll learn about the resources that's available. And there's a lot of resources available to educators. There's, for example, I would say within New Jersey, there's like probably 5 to 10 major organizations that are able to support gifted and talented educators, and then nationwide as well. We're going to teach you what those resources are, how to kind of access them, and so forth. And then lastly, with gifted and this goes for all students, right? But sometimes with gifted and talented students, it becomes critical because they have specific needs as well as like some other students. But being able to work with parents and family of gifted and talented learners, that's critical, and we teach you how to actually do that, because again, very specific techniques. So this is the last thing I'm going to talk about before we go to Q&A is the timing for when I actually developed the certificate program was just perfect. And what happened is, so there's a law in New Jersey, and this law is pretty old. It basically it requires all schools, right, from K to 12 to have a board approved G&T program, right, that's able to meet the needs of gifted and talented learners. And that's actually like a formal law. The problem is it was never they never actually the districts, for example, school districts knew about this law, but they did very little about it. Like they weren't enforcing it. I hate to use the word enforce, but you kind of have, they weren't holding people accountable, like individual schools, as far as whether their programs are actually meeting the needs of students. So in early 2020, January 2020, Governor Murphy signed an act, Strengthening Gifted and Talented Education Act. This is a big thing for gifted and talented education in New Jersey. So moving forward, of course, this has slightly been delayed, right? The implementation of this because of COVID, the pandemic. But moving forward, there's going to be a lot more focus on gifted and talented programs in schools. Basically, they're going to make sure that there's equal access for all students, and of course, there's going to be oversight as far as the implementation and maintaining or maintenance of these programs in individual schools and as school districts as a whole. There is also a bill that is being considered now that will require anyone working with gifted and talented students to have a certificate, some sort of endorsement from the state. That's in the works. New York State, New York City has it, for example. I believe Pennsylvania might have it, but New Jersey is actually a state that doesn't have this. And this puts you at an advantage again once if that's passed, because you will have that certificate earned already regarding working with gifted and talented students. So that's just the need for G&T professionals. That's just going to increase in the next year, especially in the state of New Jersey. So now, bread and butter, career opportunities, right? What do you do with a certificate? The most straightforward, and most students go into it as, they want to be a teacher or instructor of gifted and talented children. One of the things that we do different, the traditional G&T focus is typically more towards the academic side, right? Traditional ways of or technique for identifying and kind of bringing students into a gifted and talented program is academically oriented. All right, so they're good test takers, they get good grades. So we teach our students in the program how to identify kids and select them based on not just academics, but things like motivation and interest in the arts, skills with regards to like technology, right? Like the STEM programs, performing arts. So we consider the whole child, not just the academically oriented ones. You can be a director of the program, certainly program administrator, coordinator, and then there's like support personnel. And some districts actually hire support personnel. They go around in different schools to work with the different gifted and talented classes and programs. You can be a tutor. That's a big need right now. Actually, that need for tutors has become even greater, and it is really showing now with the COVID, the switch to online learning. Curriculum specialists. You can be an intervention specialist. So, for example, if a gifted and talented program in a school, there's some issues with it, you can go in as a consultant and then create interventions, try to revise your program and improve on those things. And also I put here working in public, private, and progressive schools and organizations. It's not just the public schools. Actually, it's just as much with the private and progressive schools. Oftentimes they really put emphasis on their gifted and talented or advanced programs as well. And then there's organizations, museums, right, libraries, and so forth. So it's really, the opportunities are, there's a ton of them. It's just a matter of, one, getting the expertise, building your skills in G&T, and second, finding the right home for you, like professional home for you. And a lot, I know students who graduated, earned their certificate, and they're consultants, and they just love going to different schools. There are others who found their schools, right? Like they're just now settled. They've developed programs, they're maintaining the programs. and yeah, it's really promising. So what do you need to apply? A bachelor's degree or US equivalent, right? Transcript from the colleges that you have attended or the college that you have attended, and a current resume. So we're not asking for recommendations, right? We're not asking for anything else. There's no essay. It's just that, we want to see your transcripts. We want to see what you're doing now and what you've done academically in the past.